Hey everybody, thanks for being here. We're gonna get started in another minute or so to give people time to join the Zoom. Hey everybody, looks like we've got a pretty strong contingent, so I'll go ahead and get started with just a quick opening and see if folks are able to join us later on. So quickly, let me introduce myself. I'm Maddie Kohler, Program Director for Residential Buildings here at NASEO, National Association of State Energy Officials. And we're very excited to be hosting this advisory committee for the PV GEMS technology, which we will get into a little bit more in a minute. But before we get to the content of this conversation today, I just want to do a couple of logistics items. First of all, you might have noticed when you joined that we are recording this. We're not planning on posting it anywhere, but we just want to keep it for reference in case we want to go back to it. Um, Please feel free to, mute or unmute yourself if you want to add anything to the conversation, and we hope you do. We intend for this to be a discussion. And then also feel free to use the chat if you prefer to use that. I think that's it for the logistics items. I'm going to turn things over to Eric Martin from FSEC to introduce himself and give a little bit of an overview, a reminder of the technology that we're working on. Eric, you want to take it away?
Sure. Were we going to do introductions? I can't remember if we had that as part of the agenda or not.
We can. We want to start there.
Okay, well, let me just give a quick introduction overview. Hi, everybody. My name is Eric Martin. I'm with the Florida Solar Energy Center. We're a research institute at the University of Central Florida. Lots of familiar faces on the call, so most of us do, most of you do know me. We have this project from the U.S. Department of Energy. We're going to talk a little bit about the nature of the technology in a minute, but just wanted to mention that one of the things we're looking to do with this group that we call the Deployment Advisory Group is to help us develop a technology to market plan that will kind of identify commercialization pathways so that we could eventually look at deploying this technology at scale and making an impact in lots of existing homes around the country by helping them save on heating, cooling, and water heating energy. I think we could take a few minutes just to have some other people introduce themselves, and then I'll go ahead and just remind everybody a little bit about the technology itself and the kinds of things we're looking to do with our technology to market plan. Why don't I turn it to Rob Vieira? Are you still on the call from FSEC?
Yes, I'm still
Okay.
here. Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Rob Vieira. I'm Director of Buildings Research here at FSEC and excited for this project. And thank you for uh, joining us here and helping us brainstorm some ideas of best paths to take this or change it to take it to market. Thank you.
What do we have the other NASEO people? Alana, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Alana Bell, the Residential Buildings Coordinator at NASEO. Work primarily on the residential buildings team, as the as my title would imply. I'll pass it back to you, Eric, if you want to pass it on to someone else.
Yeah, why don't we have Casey introduce himself from Pearl Certification, one of our guest speakers today.
I am Casey with Pearl, and I actually have like a slide of my background, so I'll go ahead and tell you a little bit more in a few minutes.
Okay, Paul? Oh, you're muted, Paul.
There. I'm Paul Johnson. I'm Executive Vice President of Watsco. We're a air conditioning distributor throughout the U.S. and Canada.
Kevin?
Hey, everybody. Good afternoon. Good morning. Kevin Porter, of Resilient Capital Solutions, consulting and advisory firm, scaling up access to clean energy financing across the country. Formerly of Rocky USA Capital. See my former colleague Nick here. So, Eric reached out about me serving in a different capacity here, talking about scaling up financing solutions as it relates to this product. But just to clarify, separate from Rock USA at this point. Thank you.
Why don't we go on to Nick?
Thanks. And hello, Kevin. Nick Salerno with Rock USA, helping support us in this effort here. Chief Operating Officer, and yeah, looking forward to learning more from you all.
Eileen?
Hello, everyone. Eileen Smith. I'm at the Institute for Simulation and Training at UCF, and I'm a program director looking at leading teams that create competency roadways for workforce development. Oil field services is one of our active clients as emergency response, and even nursing and emergency room triage procedures. So sort of naive to competent performance on your job. It's a pleasure to be here.
We're going to be leveraging Eileen and her team to help us develop some sales and installation training for this technology as we get down the road. Let's go to Bill.
Hi, Bill Grieco. I'm with a company called Inventure. We're a company creation company, so we start new entities. And in fact, I'm the now CEO of our latest startup, a waste to value company called Refinity, but also a longtime collaborator with FSEC. Most recently, I was chair of the advisory board up through our fall meetings. So for the last 2 years and now past chair. Happy to be here.
Megan.
Hi, everyone. I'm Megan Duff. I'm a manager of R&D projects at the Association for Energy Affordability, and I'm working with RMI and ADL Ventures, who are leading the DOE Advanced Building Construction Collaborative team, and so supporting with tech and market scaling to the DOE ABC funded research teams, which Eric's leading one of them, and so I'm here sort of on behalf of that team to support in whatever way I can. Happy to be here.
Agatha?
Hi, everybody. My name's Agatha Kasdan, and I'm with the Electric Power Research Institute, and I'm I sit within the Advanced Buildings and Communities program. I had some good conversations with FSEC around standardization of building decarbonization and distributed resilience strategies, and standardizing those and looking at those and testing those in manufactured homes and working with major producers on testing some of those strategies. So that may have been why I was invited here and excited to participate. So thanks so much.
Roy Crawford, you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm Roy Crawford with Johnson Controls. I'm the director of our advanced technology group in Norman, Oklahoma. Where part of the business I'm in makes residential and light commercial air conditioning and heat pump equipment.
Thank you. Leanne?
Hi, I'm Leanne Fitzner with Forsyth Street Advisors. We're an advisory and asset management firm based in New York. We were introduced to this group through work we're doing with Rock USA, so I'm just here to listen in and hear about what updates Eric has to share. Thanks.
Rashad?
Hello, my name is Harshad Inamdar. I'm a research engineer with Ream Manufacturing in Fort Smith, Arkansas. I work on a lot of industry, DOE or CEC grant-funded projects on advanced technology development, deployment. I sort of represent Ream on a lot of such projects where Ream are industry partners. Thank you.
And Ream has partnered with us on this project to supply some heat pumps that we'll be deploying as part of a demonstration. So thank you, Harshad. And Rodney.
Rodney Sobin. I am a senior fellow at NASEO and part of the staff supporting this project.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. Alana, if you stop sharing, I'll go ahead and share my screen. Okay, as I mentioned, just wanted to give everyone a quick reminder of the technology and some of the things we're looking to accomplish with the Deployment Advisory Group. Some of you have seen at least some of these slides before, so I'll just move through quickly, and then we'll move on to a guest speaker that we have today. So we call our retrofit solution PVGEMS, photovoltaic powered grid enhanced mechanical solution. And in a nutshell, we see this as an affordable, high efficiency mechanical system pod designed to target reduction of energy used for heating, cooling, and water heating in existing homes by 50 to 75%. We're essentially bundling efficient heat pumps in this pod for space conditioning and water heating that are partially powered by a small off-grid solar and battery system. So we do not export any renewable energy to the grid. The heat pumps are able to utilize renewable energy generated by the system. And when we fall short there, we can supplement the components with energy used from the grid. And the idea is that the pod and components could be prepackaged off-site, making it quick and easy to deliver and install by a single turnkey contractor, hopefully minimizing some of the hassle factor and occupant disruption that is typically experienced with traditional deep energy retrofits. So the main value proposition that we're thinking about here, at least to the end user of the technology, is that we can make large energy bill reductions easy, even given some challenging situations. One of those situations that we're looking to help with is in manufactured housing that has experienced some barriers to deep energy retrofits in the past. On one hand, performing deep enclosure retrofits and installing photovoltaics is often complicated by the condition of the existing structure in some homes. And when we look at installing efficient HVAC and water heating equipment, we're often limited due to space constraints inside these homes. So PVGEMS can help, being that the equipment is primarily installed outside of the home within a dedicated enclosure. We don't see this as a solution exclusive to manufactured homes. Really, all housing types, when embarking on a deep energy retrofit, have to deal with multiple contractors. And so there's kind of a hassle factor associated with that. And we envision PVGEMS being sold, installed, and serviced by a single turnkey contractor. And then also looking at all housing types, especially those in mild climates where lots of deep energy enclosure-based retrofits can be very costly and, depending on the situation, can sometimes return minimal energy savings. But by focusing on these highly efficient equipment retrofits and bundling them with photovoltaics, we can really look to achieve high energy use reductions in a variety of different situations. So when we talk to potential investors, licensees, and entrepreneurs about the value proposition PVGEMS can bring to them, we'd like to point out that there is sufficient demand for PVGEMS that can be validated by the size of the market. So there's lots of existing manufactured homes out there. Many of those residents are facing high energy burdens and could certainly benefit from this sort of technology. But there's also a large number of site-built single-family homes where PVGEMS can be applicable. We do recognize some market limitations that we're working through, namely homes with limited lot space and solar access. So we're looking at some other form factors and other ideas for how to deploy this technology beyond the pod that I've shown you the photos of. We feel that we've validated PVGEMS' performance and savings potential in phase 1 of our project by deploying some prototype systems here on lab homes we have on the FSEC campus and doing some energy use simulations that shows large reductions in heating, cooling, water heating use. And we're looking to take that to the next level with the demonstrations that we're currently doing as part of phase 2 of this project, where we're installing these systems on occupied homes. But we've gotten some feedback from various stakeholders that confirms that PVGEMS can be a solution to common problems, including providing energy and cost savings in some of the challenging situations I mentioned, the potential to remove at least some of the HVAC and water heating energy from the grid during peak with our modest solar and battery system, and also acting as an electrification solution that can minimize the need for panel and service upgrades, at least in some cases. And so one of the things we're looking at with our technology to market plan is looking at versions of our proposed turnkey business model that are currently in use. There are some groups out there that are looking to act as kind of a one-stop shop for home upgrades, and groups that can handle the scope of work, contractor selection, all of the steps involved with that a homeowner has to go through in order to accomplish a deep energy retrofit on their property. So the technology to market activity that we're currently embarking on, I mentioned occupied home demonstrations. So we're funded to install PVGEM systems on 12 occupied homes in a variety of different climates. That includes manufactured home and site-built, single-family detached, and that's providing us feedback on the prototype design and the performance and the customer satisfaction so that that can feed into a potentially commercialized product. We're looking to get feedback from this group and others to identify, who the customers really are when we go to market with this technology. So beyond direct-to-consumer marketing, but potentially marketing to existing programs that have potential to deploy this at scale, programs that facilitate energy efficiency and renewable energy retrofits that might be utility-based or state local government-based or nonprofit-based. And then we also want to look for opportunities and tools that help us identify and leverage all the different financing and incentives that might be out there that vary regionally, geographically, that can help a consumer afford the technology and get the most bang for their buck. And lastly, as I mentioned, looking at different sorts of business models that may make sense for a company that could bring this technology to market. So is it an existing company that's manufacturing some of the components that we're using, or maybe a brand new company that's sourcing and integrating all of those components? Would they employ an outright sales model or something more like a leasing type model? And then how would they be set up to deploy this on a national basis? There's looking at a more traditional manufacturer, distributor, retailer type arrangement, or maybe a more vertically integrated model where they're handling all of those things in-house under one roof. And then the other thing that we're looking at as part of the technology to market plan is, yes, we are demonstrating some particular form factors and integrations with this technology, but maybe as we move to commercialization, we want to look at some modifications, enhancements that might make sense with this technology. So maybe bringing on additional end-use loads beyond heating, cooling, water heating, thinking about the amount of solar and battery storage that we have, and then also looking at various design and form factors for different purposes. So we are kind of proceeding with the demonstrations primarily with the image that you see in the top left there, which is a 6 by 10 foot shed that has 4 PV modules on it. We end up with a lot of extra space inside the shed. We get some feedback that that's beneficial. We also get some feedback that certain community layouts prohibit that size of a shed, so we can look at maybe going with something smaller if we can do something else with the photovoltaics as opposed to putting them on the roof of the shed. Maybe moving to kind of decoupled designs like you see here. This is an image that I borrowed from the Amoresco Solar website. This is an entity that we've reached out to discuss potential commercialization opportunities with our technology and seeing about putting our components inside of the metal box and leveraging the solar mounting solution that they have. And we also are looking at the potential for even larger footprints for a shed or a pod that could fit larger solar systems on there and be able to power more than just the components that we have inside our pod. So lots of potential opportunity to evolve the design into something different or maybe have multiple type designs. So with that, what we're going to be doing next is I'm going to be turning the floor over to a guest we have from Pearl Certification that has some tools and products that help facilitate homeowners that are working towards accomplishing a deep energy retrofit on their property. Before we do that, I think we can maybe take a few minutes for questions on what I presented, if there are any.
Hey, Eric, this is Agatha. What's the cost of the pod, and what's your model for installation? Who are your kind of implementation partners or process there?
Cost is something we're looking to document as part of the demonstrations. We have some target costs in mind that we'd like to keep it below. Somewhere around the $15,000 mark is what we're looking to at scale a commercialized product. The costs we're facing as part of the demonstrations are much higher because we just have such a small number of units, but that's one thing that we're looking to be able to get a more definitive forecast as we collect some information as part of the demonstrations. The target is that for sales and installation is, one thing we recognize is that this is really a cross-cutting type thing that involves multiple trades and disciplines, from electricians to plumbers to mechanical contractors, even solar contractors. So we do envision the turnkey company to bring all of those trades under one roof. Whether that makes sense or not, or whether that's the direction that we move towards as we look at commercialization, remains to be seen, but that's at least our initial thought.
And design and optimization, like including for the solar, how's that being handled to match the site constraints?
Well, so right now we're kind of envisioning kind of a one size fits all product in terms of at least the system we're focusing on for the demonstrations, which is that 6 by 10 foot shed with the 4 modules on there. And we're installing that system in a number of different use cases to see what the limitations are and kind of see what the range of savings is that we get. Whether we want to move towards a model where there's more upfront design and customization versus kind of a single SKU that's just a little bit easier for a company to work with, remains to be seen. But I will mention, beyond that 4 module 6 by 10 foot shed, we do have kind of a secondary product that we're looking to deploy that involves it rather than a small capacity mini split that's supplementing a home's existing system. It's a centrally ducted heat pump replacement that requires a larger PV module, PV array, and we can accommodate a larger battery system and larger water heater too for higher occupancies and things. So we're getting a little bit of a feel for that at 2 different levels during the demonstration. Looks like Megan's got her hand up.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Eric. I'm interested to see the sort of different form factors you're playing around with the shed enclosure, particularly the one with the smaller footprint. I think that helps address kind of a broader swath of the residential market. And I'm curious, I don't know how far along you are in that development, if you've like nailed down the size of the shed, like the square footage, but curious whether or not you're planning to do performance testing with the heat pump water heater and I guess like access to fresh air makeup for the heat pump to consume. Is that part of consideration, or how are you addressing the fresh air makeup for a smaller shed space?
So we have looked at that as part of the engineering design, so that we're pursuing stamped engineering documents to be able to make these fully permanent installations. And right now we're drawing makeup air from outside of the pod or the enclosure. We've looked at multiple different things. In colder climates, drying it within the enclosure creates a large infiltration load. And we have some limits for how cold we can let the inside of the shed get with all the components, especially the batteries that are in there. So in order to minimize that infiltration load, we do pull the makeup air for the heat pump water heater from the outside and then discharge it to the outside. Of course, there's trade-offs to that too, because then when it's really cold, the heat pump water heater is operating in electric resistance mode and it's eating into some of our savings. But we do have the solar assist that's helping make up for some of that. So that's where we are on that. In terms of the smaller footprint, the one thing that we're looking at is what to do with the PV panels. One of the benefit of the pod and being able to put the PV on the roof of the pod is that we don't have to worry about the condition of the existing roof. If we're going to be looking at leveraging the roof for PV mounting, we've got some additional considerations there. We could look at ground mounting, the PV, additional considerations there. So we're not, we haven't finalized that design as of yet.
Cool. Can I ask a quick follow-up question? Have you considered or looked into bifacial PV panels? Is that cost prohibitive?
It's on the list of things to consider depending on the nature of the mounting of those PV panels. But as of right now, we're planning to put them on the roof of the shed for the near-term demonstration. So we haven't been looking at bifacial.
Thanks so much.
Kevin.
Yeah, thanks. Related question that I was going to ask Casey maybe later, but it kind of goes along with what Megan was asking. I was kind of worried about the opposite end of things. That this product is probably going to be used more for older manufactured mobile homes where there's a lot of air leakage. I mean, they're kind of very old, leaky homes. So I was wondering if, curious to hear what Pearl certification is doing. But would it be possible to sort of document, at what level of air changes per hour that this really starts to make more sense or less sense, depending on that infiltration for the individual homes?
Yeah, one thing I failed to mention that the idea with deployment of PV gems is that it is bundled with some lower cost, shallow enclosure retrofits that would make financial sense. And we're doing that as part of the demonstration. So air sealing the envelope, reducing duct leakage, maybe augmenting insulation, things like that, that we think we can accomplish somewhat cost effectively as opposed to, let's say, maybe complete window retrofits and things that might be more costly. We've been reaching out to stakeholders in our demonstration locations to help us facilitate those retrofits. And so local weatherization programs and things like that, so that when we deploy the demonstration pods, we want to do that in conjunction with at least a shallow enclosure retrofit and look at that kind of being the model as we move towards commercialization, that this is more of a bundled approach, that whether that commercialization entity takes that under their roof or maybe just figures out connections to be able to make those retrofits happen via existing resources in those areas. Maybe we can turn it over to Casey, have him tell us a little bit about Pearl certification and the tools and resources they have, and then maybe that'll get at Kevin's question there.
Awesome. Can you see my screen right now?
Yep.
Okay. And is it good enough, or should I put it in slideshow mode? Is this any better?
Yep.
That's good.
It's better.
Okay. Great. Okay. Thank you very much. I am Casey Murphy. I have a decent amount of slides, and I actually have a live demonstration if we want to go there. So I'm going to kind of move quickly, and since it's recorded, you can always pause and read some of the details later. Just a little bit of background about myself. I've been in new construction and remodeling for almost a quarter of a century right now. For me, the inflection point was when I became a BPI building analyst and envelope professional, where I really started to understand the importance of how a home performs and the non-energy benefits, in addition to the energy benefits that can be seen by a family living in a higher performing home. I was lucky enough to actually to sell home performance work before the utility had rebates and before there was energy modeling. So I had to sell it on the inherent value that work provides for families. I worked for ICF for about 6-7 years, supporting utility programs, energy programs, and things of that sort. At Pearl specifically, I've been with Pearl kind of since the beginning. My primary role right now is supporting our customer experience team, and our primary customer are homeowners and home occupants, to educate them, make them aware of opportunities to improve their home and improve their families, health, comfort, resiliency, and use of energy. Pearl's mission is a world where ordinary people power the energy transformation. Our mission is to make home performance matter. We are a public benefits corporation, and we want to educate homeowners, make the marketplace understand that homes can perform better, and to make that value visible. You might say, well, home performance already matters. For us on the call, it certainly matters. For the vast majority of the American public, they don't really understand home performance. And so we could take a little bit of a look into the problem. Here's an example of 2 homes that were listed at the same time, comparable homes. Which one is high performing? If you are a home buyer, if you are an appraiser, a real estate agent, you don't know, because for the most part, none of the data is visible in terms of which home is the higher performing home. And I'll get into this slide a little bit later. Another problem is, or another anecdote is, this is a home that was built in 2015 at a HERS 48. It was a NGBS gold home, lots of high performing features. It was resold in 2019. What persisted? The home had an heat pump and it had Energy Star qualified equipment. And if you could read that description on the bottom, and if you can't, you're not missing anything because it doesn't talk about anything about the high performing home features of the home. It does mention quartz countertops, doesn't mention anything about the high performing home features. And we see this problem over and over and over again with existing technology like insulation and air sealing, new technology like solar panels. People don't understand the value of it, and it creates a lack of demand for these technologies. Here's an example of a home buyer who bought a passive house $55,000 less than list price because nobody was able to communicate the value of a passive house to potential home buyers. Same thing in the real estate community. We have numerous times seen agents tell their sellers, you need to remove the solar panels on your home. It's going to lower your home's value. And we've had contractors go out and remove those panels because of this guidance from the agent. We also see lots of appraiser misunderstanding as well. Here's a quote from an appraiser convincing someone that one, solar panels don't add value, and sometimes they don't. That's fair enough, but he's making a blanket statement in this guidance. And he also mentioned about all the other green things just don't matter. It's not going to increase the value of the home. Yet another anecdote, zero energy ready labeled home, 42 HERS index. This is the appraisal report. The appraiser said additional features, special energy efficient items, nothing, average quality. Now this is a zero energy ready home and they say it's average quality construction. Energy efficient items, typical system. So this is the lack of data, the lack of knowledge and understanding that we see in the marketplace. So when I take a look at the PV Gem solution, what I see is a ton of value. And I think everybody on this call sees that. The heat pump water heater, the battery, the PV panels. But what would the general public see? And even if a potential home owner, home occupant values that, is this something that they would be able to communicate the value of in the future? Or is this some oddball technology that creates confusion and market dysfunction? So our job at Pearl is really to communicate the inherent value of these technologies so that the marketplace understands it. Traditionally, the energy efficiency world hasn't done a great job of that. If you've seen a listing for a new construction home and the builder talks about 2x6 walls spaced at 24 inches off center, that is not consumer-facing messaging, talking about the benefits that you would receive moving into that home. That's the technology that went into the home. Super important for the builder, building scientists, but a lot of the information that we use to communicate in energy efficiency doesn't really resonate with homeowners. Where we can look is other ways that products and service and home improvements are made. This is an example of how deck manufacturers or installers sell the value. Yes, you're going to enjoy it when you live in the home, but homeowners typically are always thinking about maintaining and improving their home value. No one is installing a deck to prepare the home to sell, but it's still an important factor when they're trying to make a decision of a big investment. Am I going to maintain or improve my home's value? Because oftentimes that's the largest source of wealth for American families. Here's some research that was done by, I believe this was Pamela Brookstein when she was at Elevate, where they did a study of when you talk about the features of things, people don't value those features. But when you start to educate on the associated benefits, all of a sudden the demand increases once they understand, again, what the benefits are of those different technologies. And so what the marketplace needs is really a way to better communicate the non-energy benefits and the energy benefits of the technologies that we install in our homes or that we improve our homes with. So this is some of the things that Pearl does. We basically act as a translation layer to be able to take the data about the high performing home features. And so we have special performance features of the home, we have marketing materials. And so this is an example of those two homes where the home on the right actually had a bunch of high performing home features. And we were able to kind of communicate that value through our materials that resulted in increased demand, increased price for that. This is important, not just because of this individual transaction. What we really want to do is educate and make aware the homeowner in the home on the left that there are pathways for them to improve their home, improve their comfort, resiliency, energy efficiency, and indoor air quality, and live in a better home and protect and increase your value so you can compete with the home on the right. Some of the ways we do it is in our Pearl report. I'm just going to kind of quickly go through here, but you can see these are, again, communications tools that emphasize the benefits of specific types of technologies. And we capture the technical details of those technologies because that's pertinent for maintenance, and it's also pertinent for others to really understand the details of whatever technology is in a particular home. We also complete the Appraisal Institute's Green and Energy Efficient Addendum for every report that we issue. So we've issued about 240,000 reports to date. And so we've issued 240,000 of these addenda. Again, trying to capture the value and make it transparent for the future. On the real estate side of things, we offer a bunch of different resources for agents. So we have online marketing materials when they are listing a home with high performing home features. We have in-home marketing materials. We also provide materials so that this information gets over to the loan officer, the AMC or their appraisal department, and can influence the underwriting for a loan if the home is high performing. And here's some other examples. On the right is a multiple listing sheet. So we make it easy for the agents to check off exactly what MLS fields that he or she should be filling out in their particular MLS. On the left is where we're trying to document the value of another label or score, whether or not it's home energy score, HERS, or others. We think those are great tools or great certifications or great labels. We want to be able to communicate the value of those in the marketplace. And some other examples here. We are also an Energy Star Home upgrade service provider. And so that's a new program that they launched for the most part last year. And so we can certify and kind of document if a home has had one of these home upgrades. And Eric, whether or not the PV gems qualify, it actually does, because it has this heat pump water heater, it has a heat pump. And so you actually have 2 of the 6 measures as it pertains to Energy Star Home upgrades. And then we're doing a lot of stuff in the real estate sector as well. So the Real Estate Standards Organization has a data standard that Pearl was recognized as being compliant with. It's kind of like HPXML, where we can consume HPXML or APIs, but then now we can push it into the real estate MLSs so that it's a frictionless way to kind of share the data and the high performing features of individual homes at time of transaction. The other thing that we do, we have a free homeowner-facing app to educate homeowners on the opportunities to improve in their home and to give them that better information, that more confidence, so that they're thinking about how I can improve my home. Maybe it's not just finishing my basement. Maybe it is doing an attic insulation and air sealing job. And so here are some results of the customer surveys that we've done in terms of their confidence, their proactivity, in terms of early replacement, and how they are willing to spend more money on these high performing features after being educated in our Pearl app. So that is it in terms of the presentation itself. I do have, if you're interested, I have my own Pearl app portal, and I could walk through my own home and that experience if you want, or maybe we take questions right now. I built my own home about 6 years ago, so it's a Pearl Platinum home, and I have, my solar, batteries, heat pump, water heater, all documented in that report as well. Yep, I'm free to take some questions right now.
Yeah, I'd be interested in seeing the app, but maybe we could take a few questions first and then see what time's left. I have a question, in terms of communicating the benefits, right, to the homeowner. And it seems like you have efforts to communicate that directly between Pearl and the homeowner, but I wonder, are you reaching out to contractors to give them tools and techniques so that they can in turn communicate to the homeowner?
Yes, and in fact, that's how we went to market originally, is through contractors. Going to direct consumer is incredibly expensive. And so we really, in the beginning, partnered with high-performing contractors so that we would give them communication tools so they can talk to their prospective home buyers, or excuse me, customers, hopefully get them to buy the more efficient option if they're thinking about a heat pump replacement or things of that sort. And ideally to do more comprehensive scopes of work as well. So not just, the new heat pump, new filter, maybe some additional work as well that can be undertaken at that point in time. So, and we do work directly with contractors and with OEMs. So what we want to do is, when you are installing a new high performing home feature in the home, we want to make sure to capture that value for the homeowner. And so we do have ways to capture those products, those technologies in the home. We'll issue the Pearl report to the homeowner. So one, they have that documented, kind of locked and loaded for whenever they need it. But then also we can educate them on additional opportunities as well.
Yeah, so it's similar to part of our philosophy where, for a market launch for PV Gems, going to direct to consumer could be very expensive and cumbersome. And so hence leveraging various programs that can bring that to the consumer in a larger part than what a new company or entity could do.
What are the demographics of your average? You've got several 100,000 homes you've done this. What is like a median income, medium house value price, single family home?
So right now, most of the projects that we have certified have come through our contractor network. And so it's going to be based upon that specific contractor's demographic. So we have calculated, this is kind of an indirect way of answering the question. We've calculated that we've captured about $1.6 billion of additive home equity based upon the average home price in that area. But really, we haven't gotten that granular information from the contractor in terms of the socio-demographic segments. We have done manufactured homes, we've done single family homes, but I don't have information on a detailed breakdown.
So part of what we're wondering is, how PV Gems, something like a PV Gems might fit into this process. As you mentioned, when you were referencing Energy Star, it kind of does because the individual technologies are targeted, by those certain programs. And we see that as we look at layering incentives, there really are no incentives for the PV Gems pod, but there are for efficient heat pumps and heat pump water heaters and solar systems and maybe, even things that might reduce peak demand from a utility perspective. And so, and I know Megan from AEA's looked at this exact question and how might individual existing rebates and incentives apply to the PV Gems. And, I guess what we're hoping is that they should be directly applicable and not be precluded because of the bundled nature of PV Gems.
Yeah, I think how I'd view it from Pearl's perspective is we would want to take a look at the underlying technologies that are in the PV Gems and really create the messaging around all the energy and non-energy benefits that the consumer, the home occupant would receive. So one, we're educating them about the opportunity there. We do have in the Pearl app as well, kind of a rebate finder, tax credit finder too. And we'd want to promote it, to the appropriate socio-demographic kind of housing stock, that this is a great solution that you should take advantage of. And again, provide that education. But then if it's installed, making sure that we're documenting that value so it persists into the future as well. Including, if you're doing light retrofits on the structure itself, air sealing, insulation, things of that sort, really any of that we would be able to capture and document.
Can I jump in and ask a question of my own? And maybe this gets to your app demo a little bit, but curious
Mhm.
to hear how you determine which recommendations to make to your app users. And maybe this is thinking a little bit too in the future, but would you ever like work with a technology provider like PB Gems or anything else to customize the recommendations to be like a specific technology?
Yeah, yeah. So one, yes, would. We would like right now. We score homes based upon kind of a prescriptive scoring system, and it's heating and cooling systems, things of that sort. It allows people to kind of identify different technologies and kind of roll that up. Our recommendations are going to be based on general guidance on building shells as they're updating their home, and we know maybe they already have a great attic, so we're not going to recommend that. We're going to recommend something else once we know more information about the home. Having said that, last year we purchased a company called Radiant Labs. And so they're going to allow us to provide much better understanding and modeling of all 80 plus million homes, at least single family homes, and then offer much more customized recommendations based upon the specific characteristics of those homes. And that's really going to power our ability to offer tailored solutions for the homeowner for their individual home at 123 Main Street. And the more we know about the home, whether or not that's an auditor going into the house and doing a comprehensive audit, or through other ways, we can refine our recommendations kind of based on that modeling and based upon the accuracy of the data that we know about the home.
Originally, didn't you have a excuse me, a program where you allow the consumer to slowly build it up over time? You don't have to do everything all at once. You can gradually do A and then B and then C and then D.
Exactly. That's really our primary go-to-market. If you are just installing a heat pump water heater and replacing a gas furnace, awesome. That's great. Let's capture it in our report. That's an important investment that you made. Let's continue it. And so it's really kind of the incremental improvements over time. We want to award, we don't want to be this big bureaucratic burden to look at the entire home before we can actually, kind of score it. And so exactly that. We want to incrementally engage them, reward them when they make an investment, and then educate them on future investments that might be in their best interests. Mm-hmm. And that could be kind of where I show the demo, because my home, as I mentioned, it's newly constructed. I built it, well, fairly new. I built it in 2018. So I have everything about my home documented here. And so I can go into my building shell. I can see, kind of what my current score is. I can view the details. So I have an R60, grade 1 installation, things of that sort. So it really gives me accurate information about my home when I built it. And I've added solar after, I added an EV charger after. And so I'm able to add those additional things into my home and see my score improve as I'm adding those additional things. But to your point, I might have nothing in here because I just logged in for free for this app, learning about different ways to improve my home. And then if you make that investment, improve your home, then we can update your home record and improve it over time. But we have, as I mentioned, kind of different savings tools. So this is tied to tax credits and specific rebate programs, utility programs. But this is somewhat customizable. So if there are discounts specifically for PV Gems, we'd be able to kind of put that information in there as well. We have the documents here. So this is all the documents I have: certification report, but all the real estate marketing package. And we can also have, you see, contractor documents. We can have, information about maintenance or what have you about the PV Gems. So there's a lot of different components to this, including the blog, where we educate the homeowners on opportunities, every month, educating them about, X, Y, and Z things that are going on. So this is a little snapshot of what the Pro app looks like. And as I said, we'll be enhancing it once we get the modeling capabilities of Radiant Lab into our systems to offer much more precise recommendations for homeowners to make their home higher performing.
What's the standard cost of bringing someone into your home to do the evaluation?
Well, so we don't do that. So we will recommend a homeowner, they can take advantage of a utility energy audit program. They can, find their own BPI building analyst or HERS rater. They can, maybe it's a home energy score that they want. So we're going to educate the homeowners on the importance of getting an audit. But again, if a homeowner has an Energy Star dishwasher, they can upload it with a photo and timestamp, and then we're able to certify that Energy Star appliance is in the home.
Okay.
But really, we're not the ones in the home doing this. We're just capturing the value of the property's high performing home features.
And the Radiant Labs capability, that just gives more accuracy to the what if scenarios in terms of the energy savings they could expect from various upgrades.
Exactly. And so, one scenario is really improving our ability to offer customized recommendations to a homeowner. A new heat pump system of these specs are going to, result in this much of a cash flow improvement for your energy bills. But there are other ways in which, traditionally they've been used more for program design. So you can actually, okay, this bundle of measures will get this much improvement in terms of energy savings, and it's customized based upon the climate zone, the housing type, and even stacking different types of rebates and financing on top of it. So you could see when it's cash flow positive. So the Radiant tool is a financial tool for energy savings, but that's only one component of what we're trying to do, because the non-energy benefits are, personally, my opinion is oftentimes multiples of times more important for homeowners than the specific energy savings.
Right. Comfort, air quality, things like that, added value.
Yep.
And those incentives, I think you mentioned, go beyond just federal, that might apply to everybody and drill down to the local level, which could vary for somebody in California versus somebody in Florida due to varying utility rebates, state rebates, those sorts of things. That's something that the tool updates on a regular basis.
Yeah, exactly. So we have an API with another vendor who keeps track of all the utility rebates. So it's the federal. When the state programs come online for IRA, it would be included in their utility rebates. I mean, honestly, anybody on this call, if you want to, you can go in and create your own free app or free account, and you can kind of see the different rebates that are available in your area as well. And it's customizable too. So we can partner with somebody who offers a rebate for X, Y, and Z, and we'd be able to include it as well.
Do you see, Casey, in your experience in working with contractors that are more home performance based, looking to deliver a holistic retrofit, or are you seeing more of a siloed deployment where there's a mechanical contractor doing efficient heat pumps for space conditioning, and then maybe plumbers doing the heat pump water heaters and the air sealing contractors? And what's your view of that landscape? It's kind of gone back and forth over the years.
Yeah. I think, historically, home performance contractors have been very niche and not nearly as sophisticated as some of the large single trade HVAC contractors who have sophisticated business systems and marketing systems. That is evolving, and especially with a lot of movement in the industry with PE purchasing a lot of these home services firms, we're seeing more of the silos break down. Some of the contractors that we've been working with are doing, 5 of the 6 Energy Star home upgrade measures. But even they are struggling with how to break down the silos within their own organizations too, and looking for ways to do that. Because their plumbing division that does the heat pump water heaters is separate from their HVAC division. But we are seeing some of these large contractors really starting to do the full gamut. But honestly, some contractors say, hey, listen, our business is X. We need to stay focused on this specific solution. And that's a perfectly good, obviously business model. And that's where we want the homeowner to, okay, this one contractor for this one thing, great. here's another contractor who can do, another improvement of a different type.
Again, in bringing in the solar from PVGEM's perspective, is kind of a whole different level of consideration. But, at least in exploring home performance contractors, in our Massachusetts location for the demonstrations, because of some existing state level programs that are going on, there are certain entities that are bringing mechanical systems and solar and or plumbing all under one roof. So it seems like if there's enough momentum to deliver that package, there are companies kind of rising to the challenge to be able to do that themselves rather than having to subcontract it out to other entities.
Yeah, yeah. And we see in the solar world, a lot of solar companies going back, 4 years ago, they're just, slapping glass on roofs. That was their business model. It was the Wild West. We see, and then they, sometimes do energy efficiency like LED light bulbs. Now we're seeing solar companies, at least the good ones, really focus in on comprehensive energy efficiency, energy audits, aeroseal duct sealing, and incorporate a lot more. And that's partly because, the solar industry is super tough right now, and they have to pivot and offer more value and more services because solar isn't today what it was, 4 years ago.
And we find it to be very geographic. When you get into the Northeast, you find a lot of plumbers, air conditioning. You get into Florida, you don't see as many plumbing, air conditioning guys. You get into California, you see people being air conditioning only. That's all they do. So it's very geographic as far as the spread.
Yeah, maybe in part having to do with the prevalence of gas. So because a lot of plumbers are used for gas piping and things like that.
Right.
So that might be.
And most of them don't have any electrical ability. They don't even have an electrical license. They will get an electrician to come in and do the final.
Yeah, we are seeing a lot of contractors starting to get into electrical, like HVAC contractors getting into electrical, EV chargers, smart panels, things of that sort. So those, and I don't know, it's definitely geographic, and I don't know how much of that is a factor of the programmatic environment in specific states as well, because that will drive a lot of different business models depending upon. So looking at New York, looking at California, looking at some other states that really kind of transformed the marketplace in contracting.
Well, it's hard to make a living being an air conditioning guy only in New York. You've got to have plumbing to make
especially
it.
Air conditioning.
Air conditioning guy, and you can live very fine, but it's kind of unusual. Yeah. Okay.
Well, we're getting close to the hour. Wanted and give everyone the chance to make any comments, ask any questions, related to Casey's presentation or mine, or any other thoughts that they may have along the lines of commercialization of PVGEM's business models. Any thoughts at all?
And maybe I'll just add that, we are going to be planning future meetings of this group. So if any sort of like business model ideas, program models, anything that you kind of want to see featured in a future call to sort of like test out like we did today and see how it would fit with PVGEMs, please let us know in the chat now, or you could reach out to any of us. I believe your invite came from my colleague, Alana Bell. Feel free to reach out to her if you have anything that you want to explore in a future meeting.
This is Agatha. I was wondering if you can share any kind of specs on the PV GEMS pod, and also if you can share any results from the deployment that you have underway.
Sure, we can tell you a little bit about specs. We haven't landed any demonstration systems yet. We do have data collected from systems that we operated here at our FSEC labs in phase 1, but our timing on this is we're currently recruiting participants, collecting 6 to 8 months of pre-retrofit data, and then we'll be landing the PVGEMS boxes to collect 12 months of post-retrofit data. So we expect to land our first systems summer of 2025.
Okay, great.
And we are happy to share the slides from today, Casey. If you're comfortable sending them to us, we can package them and send them with everybody. And Eric, same for yours.
Sure.
Sure.
Great, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate you attending and feel free to follow up for any questions or additional input.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
Thanks.
everyone.
Take
Nice
care.
Thank
to be around the
you.
table.
Thanks all.
And